And you've just heard Mosaic, a recent single from Orla Noble, and I'm delighted to be joined by Orla now. Hello, Orla.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And Mosaic, which was just heard, it's taken from your debut album, which is out now. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so this is my first record. I made it in spring of last year, so it feels very fitting for it to be coming out spring of this year. And it's self-produced. It was made very unconventionally, and very wholeheartedly and intensely, over quite a short period of time last spring. And it's all my first songs that I've ever written, really, all captured kind of in their infancy.
We should say it's called Unfurl. I should have mentioned that before we started. And why is it called Unfurl? Now, there's a question.
Yeah, so there's a track on the album called Unfurl,
Mhm.
but I think it just really fits in with the whole ethos or the whole sort of theme of the record making process, which was really that I had never been able to write songs. I'd always been musical, I'd always been creative and played lots of instruments growing up, but I had never really managed to turn it into songwriting as much as I really wanted to. And I had a period of um, basically just creative unfurling in its most pure sense. I wrote the first song, which is See Me Free, which is the lead single for the album. And that was the first song I'd ever managed to really properly write, and it just cracked open this whole process. And it sort of cracked open a whole path, I guess, for writing. So the songs that followed all came in the span of a few weeks, and unfurl was really just the best way I could think of it, as a sort of process of coming outwards and growing and just opening up to the world a little bit more, letting the light shine on leaves, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Um, had you tried to write songs in the past? Well, because it sounds as though almost like a songwriting dam had broken, and suddenly, it was ready to go.
That's what it felt like. I had tried writing. I had a few nearly attempts over the years, but every single time I tried, it was just a pure mental block. I just almost couldn't let myself. Um, so yeah, this was really the first time that I had broken through that dam, and then they all sort of came. But I had tried. I'd always wanted to. I have always really admired songwriters and really resonated with techniques and sort of really like deeply engaged with songs over the years. And I have a lot of friends who are songwriters as well. So I've always been surrounded by it in quite a meaningful way. And I've always wanted to be able to actually write. So yeah, it was definitely a dam. It felt like that. It was quite an intense process.
And you said it was unconventional the way it was made. Is that what you're referring to? How quickly the songs were written, or were there other unconventions or conventions which you broke?
I think how quickly they came was definitely part of that. I think another part of it was I come from I work in the music industry. I'm a music PR. So I've kind of seen people's careers and releasing music from a different perspective over the years. And I know that it's normally the done thing that somebody might write their first songs and then they might start gigging, and then, gradually they might release a single, they might release an EP. And then releasing an album is a kind of milestone that a lot of people hold as quite a sacred thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that people really want to rush into. And I just didn't really have that. In so many ways, I didn't actually set out to make it an album. I really just hoped that I would leave my first few days in the studio with like a really solid group of demos. I just really wanted to capture them, and there was only a few songs at the very beginning of the process, and more of them came later on. So I didn't go into it thinking that it would be an album. I don't think I really believed at the beginning that I would be capable of making an album, of writing this all of those songs and recording them all and, producing them all. I wouldn't have really imagined myself being able to do that. So I think unconventional in that sense. And then I guess also just having never written or really gigged or, coming almost out of nowhere with a full album, I'm always very conscious is not the done thing.
So
Um,
when did that feeling switch? When did it, was it you? Was it other people involved who said, you know what, this is more than just a few tracks as demos. This is an actual collection of songs which works as an album because it really does.
yeah, Gordon, who I worked with, he engineered it and was the sort of encouragement through the whole process. We had a moment because I was in the studio a couple of different times. So the first time for just a few days, and then I was going to be coming back a few weeks later to record the string parts. So I knew that there was potentially some more time to come back to the songs or to add more, just more time in the studio. So I had left the first session with maybe like 5 songs, and I remember thinking, okay, this is an EP. Like maybe I've got an EP here. Wow, that would be so exciting. Maybe I could even release these songs. Um, and then they just kept coming. There was a few weeks in between being in the studio, and there was just more and more. Um, and by the time I got back, I was saying to Gordon, I was like, I've got a few more. I've got quite a an idea of what they might sound like already. It might not take us long. Would you be up for we just seeing what happens? And we had a moment where we both kind of looked at each other and we were like, this is an album now, really. Um, but it's funny that I think they do kind of fit together. There's a lot of variety on the records, but I think there is some level of cohesion. And it's funny that that managed to happen because at the time of recording, those were my only 11 songs. I didn't have any other ones that were not used along the process. So yeah, unconventional in that regard as well.
It is unusual. Are you still writing songs at the moment? Are you? Yes, there are. You've continued to do that.
Yeah, I have. They come in bursts, I think. I think there's been a similar theme with the with making the record where it all came in one go. Um yeah, there's been a few gaps, but they are still coming. And I wasn't sure they would keep coming, so I'm grateful for that.
Strikes me. You said that you've worked in PR and you've represented other bands and musicians. How was it
Mhm.
different doing it for yourself? Because you have done all your own PR.
I have, yeah. It's been such an eye-opening experience. Um it's so funny because so many people when you work with them, you sense a real so a lot of people just don't want to shout about themselves.
Mhm.
That's why they ask you to do it for them.
Yeah,
And people can be kind of, you'll get them an interview or you'll get them something lined up, and there's sometimes a bit of hesitance in people. And I've always been on the other side of that, thinking, oh, go for it. Why are you not going for it? This is, here's this opportunity right in front of you. But I really I completely understand it now. And it's been very painful, honestly, at times to shout about myself in that kind of way. And yeah, it makes me feel all cringy, but it's been useful. It's been insightful to be on the other side of the process. And it's no doubt helped knowing how things work.
yeah.
And it's definitely been a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. Saved me a bit of money too.
But it is so interesting, isn't it? Because I can understand from one point of view, you say, "Oh, this will be a really good thing for you to do," or that. But actually, the practicalities of doing it and the emotions of doing it, it's a different thing.
For sure. Yeah, it's different. It's different when you're in it on the other side of it. And it's so personal. Like so many people when they're releasing an album, it's like their deepest feelings on a platter for the world to see.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot more sympathy in ways for that kind of feeling.
Was there something that inspired or kind of fired the initial song, the first song that began all of these?
Yeah, definitely. The first song I was thinking about this the other day is almost quite meta in that as I was writing it, I was almost writing about the feeling of being able to write.
Yeah, wow.
Um, it was it was spurred. I mean, it's all really about being seen, being perceived, being witnessed, and it being okay, like that being an okay thing, a safe thing. a freeing thing, something that even feels good.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of the reason I wasn't able to write and a lot of the barriers that were in place in the lead up to being able to write were all to do with just a fear of expressing and a fear of being witnessed. And I think that's how it showed up and not being able to write. But I think in the period before writing the first single, I had quite an intense, I'd had quite a hard time of it. I'd been off work, not very well. I'd been struggling a lot with my mental health, and I'd been doing a lot of really intense therapy, multiple times a week for long periods and like really, really intense work. Um, and I think the more that I opened up in therapy and was met with compassion and support and um like it not being the end of the world, the more I was able to apply that elsewhere. And the more that I was able to actually feel the benefits of being seen and connecting with people a lot more deeply. It was all throughout my life. It wasn't just in writing. I was able to just be seen more, and just go to a deeper level with people and to a deeper level within myself. So really that's what the song is about. Um, just being seen and how magical that can feel.
That's really interesting. And you don't need to answer this if you don't want to, but do you feel that you couldn't have written this album without the therapy?
Absolutely, like there's no way I could not have written it
Yeah.
without
I
the
mean, I
therapy.
ask that because I know people that have gone on to do certain things that they say I couldn't have done that without going to therapy first. And that, that's really kind of unblocked certain things for me.
100%. I think it just trained a pathway of from inside to outside, which I maybe just didn't have, or that I had consistent blockages in. But yeah, therapy absolutely was quite a driving force behind the record, I would say, even in going to record it. It was the focus of many therapy sessions because I was terrified of
Yeah.
recording them and the idea that they might one day be released. It was a whole process for me.
Yeah, I mean, it is about, again, going back to the difference between, being in PR and doing, PR for yourself. There's a vulnerability about opening up about these songs, people like me asking, what do you mean by that? Or, what do they mean? And like, that is kind of putting yourself out there.
Yeah, for sure. It's scary at times. Sometimes it feels really cool, and then other times I have a bit of a freak out about it. But I think that's human. I think many people feel similarly.
We should let people know, be honest about this. We're recording this before your live launch at the Caves in Edinburgh, but by the time this
Mhm.
comes out, it will have been, and I'm sure it was a huge success. But
It was.
have you played them live before? Have you already played live with these songs?
There's actually quite a lot of them that I haven't played live. I've only done a few gigs. I've only done three, I think, just myself with my own stuff. So yeah, there's actually a lot of them that I haven't played, partly because I've only had, 20, 30-minute sets, but also because so many of them are in really crazy tunings and I don't want to be carrying around three guitars all the time. So I think there's quite a lot of songs on the record that will be played for the first time at the gig. And I mean, potentially not played that often, just due to logistics. So that's an exciting thing for me as well.
So, you're talking about perhaps needing to take different guitars with different tunings, hints that you know what you're doing musically. What is your musical background? You say you play a number of instruments.
Yeah, I do. I am somebody who has always, from as long as I can remember, wanted to. Anytime I saw an instrument as a kid, I wanted to play it.
Oh, wow.
Um, it was a bit of a problem because I would just go home from school all the time going, Mom, I want to learn the fiddle. I want to learn the saxophone. And very often the answer was no,
Mm.
because I was already doing piano. So I started off with piano. I was quite young when I started piano lessons. I'd been given a little mini keyboard when I was a toddler, and I just took it with me everywhere, just trying to play anything I could hear. I'd be out and about and I would hear something and I would try and work it out. So I started piano lessons, but I wasn't reading the music. I was pretending I was reading the music, so I didn't get too far. I did manage to hold it up for a couple of years before being found out.
So were you doing it
Um,
by ear?
I was doing it by ear,
Ah,
yeah.
interesting.
I think that comes from being a toddler with my little keyboard, and I think I had just been training my ear, to the point that it was so much quicker to. Why would I try and learn the music when it was so much quicker to do it by ear? But it got to a point where that was just too hard. So that was the end of my piano lessons career. But I played a few instruments in school a little bit later. I played drums actually. Drums was my sort of main instrument for a few years. And then I picked up guitar when I was maybe 14. Taught myself for a couple of years, developed terrible technique, and then actually did start lessons through school and was never quite able to undo the terrible technique. Um, but it works sometimes.
Because I think that, you were saying these songs all fit together, and I think they really do. And I think part of that is the guitar and your voice, kind of that's the kind of constant thread that goes through it. But there are other people playing on it as well, aren't there?
Yeah, there is a couple. Gordon, who engineered it, he plays bass on one of the tracks, fretless bass, and he did a gorgeous job. And my friend Hector Shaw, who's also a singer-songwriter,
Yeah.
he did a little bit of keys, on a couple of them. And then there's strings, of course, from Rona McFarlane and Rachel Wilson. So yeah, there's four other people on the record in various spots.
So what was that recording process like? Was it people sending in their parts, or was it all done in the one space?
It was all done in the one space. So Hector came up with me the first time. I think he just wanted a holiday, to be honest, because we were in Mull. He came up with me the first time, and so he was just able to sort of slot in. We did it all in a bit of a funny order, but he was able to just sort of slot in for his parts. Gordon did his in the studio, of course, and then Rona we were really lucky with because she actually had a gig in Tobermory that
Right.
weekend. So that's kind of why it happened then and why it happened so fast. And bless her, because she pulled the parts together so quickly. So we managed to have it all in the studio, which I think was quite good going considering it was in Tobermory.
And it's coming out, the album's coming out on a variety of formats. We should let people know where they can get it and how they can get it.
Yeah, it'll be on my Bandcamp. I'm doing a run of vinyl and a run of CDs. And it'll also be on all the usual streaming platforms.
And in terms of gigs, have you got anything past the 17th planned? Have you got anything you can tell us about?
I've got a few things. There's a couple of things not announced yet, but I'm hoping to have quite a few gigs in Glasgow over the next sort of few months. And then I'm also playing Belladrum in July, which will be really fun. I love Belladrum. I've not been in a few years, so it'll be really fun to play it this time.
And in terms of, did you have specific influences for the album, for the songs, or was it just your own style from the beginning?
Um, I think there is definitely influences that were coming through. At the time, I was listening to loads of Nick Drake. I love Nick Drake.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I do remember listening to so much Nick Drake around about that time, which I think maybe does come through slightly in some of the songs.
Well, I hadn't
Um,
thought that, but now that you've said it, because I was listening to the album closely before we spoke, and yeah, that's absolutely, I think, does come through.
yeah, there's a lot of tunings that he's used actually. So I think that's quite often what would happen is I would be learning a Nick Drake song and my guitar would be in that tuning. And then I would kind of something would come from that. But yeah, loads of Nick Drake. I also listen to loads of Radiohead, although I don't think that comes through
Yeah.
in the record. But I think it did maybe contribute to a kind of musical expansion of wow, like all of these different things are possible. Um, yeah, I think I found it inspiring in many ways, but I'm not sure it necessarily translates in
But I
the
think
record.
that's interesting as well. People listen to things. I've spoken to many people over the years, and they give you influences that you really don't expect, and you think,
Yeah,
"Wow, so yeah, yeah." But it feeds it, whether it's even the mood or the
yeah,
attitude or whatever it might be. There's other things that kind of feed into how you make music. And going back to the songwriting, as you wrote these songs, did you see themes and ideas kind of appear in them?
I think so, yeah. See, because I wasn't really writing. I think the difference with my writing now is that I'm thinking a lot more big picture about things, and I'm thinking, oh, this song might fit with this one, or maybe, the next record could have this kind of a theme. But I think because I wasn't writing with any kind of agenda, I wasn't necessarily thinking of links or themes, but I think there definitely are some. I think a lot of it does go back to that opening up and unfurling and letting myself be vulnerable in various ways. I think there's a lot of songs which feel very different in mood. There's some of them which are really quite hopeful, and others which are a lot more fearful, really. But I think it's almost two sides of the same coin. It does kind of all go back to that vulnerability of being seen and more deeply connected with, and the hope that's inherent in that, but also the fear that's inherent in that. Um, and I think that's kind of the thread that runs through it all.
It's so interesting talking to you because when I was listening to the songs, I thought there's something really moving at the heart of this album, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I think that's interesting what you've discussed about how the songs are written and kind of how they came about. It does that. In a moment, we're going to hear another single called "Hold Me," which came out earlier.
Mhm.
What can you tell us about that track?
Yeah, Hold Me was it's so funny. Hold Me has actually had the best response of the singles so far, and I can kind of see why. I think it was definitely always going to be a single. But it's funny because I think it might be the one that we spent the least amount of time on the whole way through the process. It was written very sort of stream of consciousness. It was written honestly in about 20 minutes, and I listened back to the lyrics and I'm not entirely sure what they mean or what what they're about, but they came that way, so they were kept that way. Um, but yeah, Hold Me is kind of it's about that idea of connection and how people approach it in different ways. But it's almost a kind of commentary or a I don't even want to say commentary because that implies that there was a lot of thought put into the writing of it. It's about people connecting and the lengths that people will go to for the sake of connection. I think a lot of people are sort of happy being in unfulfilling relationships for the sake of being in a relationship. It's kind of about that sort of thing. But in the studio, it was made so quickly. We absolutely fired it through. It was like it had a force of its own. It wanted to be made.
It's I'm not saying this just because we're recording, because I told you before we started recording, I absolutely love this album. It's a and I think the immediacy that you're talking about how quickly the songs are written, how quickly they were recorded, and all of that gives that absolutely comes through, and it kind of makes you've just used the word connection there, and I think that's it. They will connect with a lot of people, and they might not even know why that is. I'm not sure I know exactly why that is, but they absolutely do, and yeah, it's a wonderful collection of songs. So I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you about them, Orla.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And this is Orla Noble and Hold Me.